What's up guys, today we're going to be going over the ultimate tank build in Destiny 2 using the new exotic gauntlets on Titan, the Icefall Mantle. And there'll be 3 different builds in this video. One will be a full-on meme, one will be kind of like a middle ground of kind of funny but still pretty good, and the final one will be an actual useful build for in-game content. Anyways, before we get into the video, I am streaming my point of view of our world's first Deepstone Crypt raid attempt this Saturday, and I'm partnering with G Fuel to do that on their Twitch channel. That's going to be twitch.tv/GFuelEnergy. I'm going to go ahead and link that in the comments and description. If you want to follow it now, you can. I'll be live for the entire attempt, however long that takes, so I hope to see as many of you guys there as possible. Also, if you go to the G Fuel store, you can use my code AIR for a 10% discount. Anyways, let's go ahead and begin with the video. The way to get this exotic is from the Legend and Master Lost sectors that rotate daily between Europa and the Cosmodrome. Obviously, I recommend doing a 1251 whenever it has the exotic gauntlets as the reward if you solo it. And if you need help soloing these things, I made a video breaking down the builds I was using for these different lost sectors. So now looking at the exotic itself, with the exotic perk Glacial Guard, places your barricade ability with a personal armor reinforcement that absorbs a small amount of damage. While reinforced, you are slowed and barricade does not recharge. So pretty much how that works is when you use your barricade ability, instead you will get a barricade around you, which will give you a shield for 20 seconds, which will absorb a lot of damage in PvE. And every single time you take damage, it will reset the timer back to 20 seconds, which means we pretty much have this shield until it falls off, because of the fact that every single time we take damage, it'll reset the timer. And the trade-off of this shield is you cannot sprint or use your jump ability. And if you pair this with Traveler's Chosen, then also this exotic, this will pair extremely well. Pretty much all you have to do is pop the shield, then get 10 kills with Traveler's Chosen, which will give you 10 stacks of Gathering Light. Then whenever the shield falls off, which will take quite a while, you then consume all 10 stacks of Gathering Light, which will instantly give you your barricade charged back. Then from there, you pretty much just rinse and repeat, and you can chain that combo forever. So this will be the exotic I'll be using in 2 of the 3 builds in this video, because of the fact that it lets us have this shield ability forever. Now moving on to what subclass we want to use with this exotic. My first idea was Top Tree Sentinel for the defensive strike, which is whenever you get a kill with your charged melee, you'll give yourself and nearby allies an overshield. And every single time you get a melee kill with that overshield active, you will get melee energy back. But as you see, if you pop the shield from the exotic, it overrides the defensive strike shield, so pretty much that combo is useless. So instead, we're going to be just using Stasis, which we'll be talking about more in one of the builds later. So now moving on to the 3 builds in this video. The first one will be pretty much a meme, and what I mean by that is we're going to stack pretty much every single way to get damage resistance in the entire game. So we're going to start off with a Seraph or Arcellus weapon to create Warm Mind cells. Then in our heavy slot, we'll be using Falling Guillotine for boss damage, and we can also guard with it if needed. And the mods we'll be using are Global Reach to enhance the radius of the effects of Warm Mind cells. Then with that, we'll be using Warm Mind's Protection, which means we'll take less damage from enemies near Warm Mind cells. Then on top of that, we'll be using Grasp of the Warm Mind, which will allow us to pick up Warm Mind cells and walk around with them. So pretty much how this works is you get a Warm Mind cell to spawn in, and you pop your barricade, which will give you the 20-second shield. You pick up the Warm Mind cell and just walk around with it, and all the enemies that glow orange will be doing less damage to you. You also have the shield that lasts pretty much forever until it falls off. Even just sitting still and letting enemies hit you, it still takes like 30 seconds for the shield to fall off. And when that eventually does happen, you already have times 10 with Gathering Light, and instantly get your full barricade back and rinse and repeat just like we were earlier. So this combo is obviously insanely good, and you pretty much can't die. Another thing that you can do with this build is when you pop the shield, you can sword skate by just jump swinging with your sword. That way you can kind of get around the slow movement. Then to finish out the build, we'll be using Swift Charge, which will allow us to become Chargeable Light with our Traveler's Chosen, or if you're using the Icellus SMG, either one of those will give us stacks of Chargeable Light. Then with those stacks, we'll be using Protective Light, which pretty much means whenever we do become Red Bar, we'll get a huge damage resistance, and it'll be pretty much impossible to die if we even get Red Bar in the first place. And pretty much everything we're using in this build revolves around the resilience based stat, so if you have tier 10 of that, that will obviously help out a lot. Now moving on to the second build, which will be a little bit more serious than the first, but still pretty silly. The first thing we're going to do is change our Grasp of the Warm Mind to Warm Mind's Longevity to make the Warm Mind cells last longer. Then on top of that, we'll also be using Heir Apparent because one, we're already extremely slow, so why not? And the second part is when it's fully spun up, we will get an Arc Shield. So now how this works is we can still create a Warm Mind cell with our Arcellus or Seraph weapon. Then we pop the shield from the Mantle, and then fully spin up Heir Apparent. And pretty much how this works is we first have the 20-second shield, then once that finally breaks, which will take a very long time, we then have the Arc Shield from the Heir Apparent, and when that eventually breaks, we still have the Protective Light. So with this build, we have 3 different lanes keeping us alive, and it takes a very long time for them all to break. As you see, I'm literally standing still getting hit by 20 plus Vex, and it still takes like 40 seconds. Then finally, the last build, which will be the most serious. We're still going to have Traveler's Chosen. This time we're going to have Deafening Whisper, then also Falling Guillotine. And the main perk on Deafening Whisper we want is Will of Spring, and pretty much this will be the build I uploaded yesterday for Titan with Blast Radius and 4 stacks of Firepower, which will allow us to get our grenade back extremely fast. We'll be using that with the Glacier Grenade to create the Stasis Crystals and also Whisper of Shards. That way every single time we shatter those crystals, we will get a 10-second buff that will give us our grenade back even quicker. So pretty much how this works is you just want to get ×10 Gathering Light, then go ahead and pop your shield, then use your Glacier Grenade and the Deafening Whisper back and forth, just like we were in yesterday's video, which will allow you pretty much to have infinite grenades and also shatter everything in sight. Then by the time you finally lose your over shield, you can then pull out Traveler's Chosen and consume the 10 stacks and pretty much get it back right away and keep going and rinse and repeating. So those were my 3 builds with this exotic. The first one was completely a meme. Obviously in real gameplay, you're not be just sitting there holding the Warmind Soul just looking at things. But it's pretty funny that you can do that and pretty much survive as long as you want. And then the second build just kind of makes fun of the fact that you can't move around, so why not use the slowest weapon in the entire game, the Heir Apparent, which makes it so you can pretty much not move at all. But at the same time, that build is actually pretty good, really hard to die, and the Heir Apparent has really good ad clear. And finally, the last build was the most serious. It took my Titan build from yesterday, which is on its own really good, then gave us an overshield on top of that. Anyways, my overall opinion of this exotic is it's pretty good, but obviously the movement speed thing is kind of rough for PvE. I think they had to do that for the sake of PvP, because of the fact that if you just got an overshield for free, obviously in PvP that would be pretty busted, which unfortunately means in PvE the exotic is kind of rough to use because the fact that you can't move around with it. But if you're going for some of these different builds and take advantage of the sword skating by jumping, you know, it's not that bad. Anyways, that's it for the video. Make sure to check out the G Fuel store, link in the description and comments, and use my code AIR for 10% off. The 2 things I've been drinking the most since Beyond Light came out are the Sour Chug Rug and also the Sonic Peach Ring cans. Those both are amazing. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
Scientists are fools. Oh, a barrier. Barrier. Sabah, I think they're trying to contain the Red Legion. You are both depressing and